All right. I think we're rolling. How's it going, everyone? It's Jesse with Painting with Jesse, and we are going to be painting an awesome little neon tropical beach theme painting. Hold on, I'm in my wrong. There we go. Can somebody please give me a sound check? Let me know that you can hear me okay before we get moving. In the meantime, I'm going to start putting some of my paints down on my plate here, my plate / paint palette. What's happening, Hannah? What's up, Hannah? Welcome, welcome. How are you doing today? You're going to be painting, or are you just stopping by to say hello? You can hear me okay, Hannah? All right, fantastic. Debbie, thank you. Out in the UK. Cool, thank you for joining in today. I'm just sitting here pouring out some of the colors, some of my paint colors that I'll be talking about here in just a little bit. Tone Pacheco from Albuquerque. How's it going? Home of Johnny Tapia, that boxer from the 90s. Who else? Don, what's up, Don? How are you? Liliana, what's happening? Let's see who else. That's right, all right, Tony. Is it Tony or is it Tone? Tell me if it's Tony or Tone. It's probably Tony, and I'm over here pronouncing it wrong, but let me know, man. Let me know. What's happening, Haley? Haley Joe McGovern. How are you? Cheryl Bergerson from Minnesota. All right, what's happening, guys? So, just a little bit early right now, and I am pouring out some of the colors that I'm going to be using. Let's go ahead and go over those really quickly. I'll repeat this right before we get going, but using some blue. Now, I've got some neon options, neon paint options that I'll be using on top of these paints or mixing them in with these paints. But I've got some blue, okay, basic blue. I've got some fluorescent pink, okay. I've got some white. All of these, of course, are acrylic paints, including my neon paint, my neons, okay. Tiffany, what's happening from Connecticut? And then Monica Salazar. Then I've got a little bit of green, okay, a little bit of green, kind of a light green color there. I've got some purple or violet, okay. And then I've got some black, okay. Those are the main colors that I'm going to be using. Like I've already mentioned, I've got some neon options that I'm also going to be using. So I've got these, you can pick up these bottles of neon acrylic paint at Michael's, Hobby Lobby, pretty much any art store, but I've got some in blue, I've got some in purple or a kind of a pink purple, then I've got some in just regular purple, yellow, and I'm pretty much out of pink. I might have a little bit in there. We'll see what's left over, but I think this bottle's seen its days. So anyway, those are the colors that I'm going to be painting with. Yeah, absolutely. So again, folks, just remember these videos, I save these. These are recorded. So whenever you want to come back and paint this little neon beach paradise painting, you can always come back and do it later today, tomorrow, on the weekend, etc. Okay? So yeah, if you're not ready to paint today because you don't have supplies or you don't have the time, just come on back and join in at a later time. So we got about a minute to go. Let's see who else is on here. All right, Tana, you got it. My pleasure. Swimming today, says Tabitha. Fantastic. More swimming today, huh? Okay, cool. Let's see. Susan Curry Graham. How's it going from Jersey Shore? Awesome, Susan. It's funny because I remember watching that show on MTV, Jersey Shore. I know lots of people probably don't care that the Jersey Shore is associated with that MTV show. But I remember that show. I think I caught the first season or something like that. It's pretty funny at the time. What's happening? Lillian says, hello, everyone. I'm from Brazil and 9 years old. Is your name Lillian or is that your mom's account? Let's see. Trish says, joining from Trinidad. Fantastic. Nampillo from the Czech Republic. Dang, got a few people from all over the place today, all over different parts of the world. Fantastic. But all right, folks, it is 3 o'clock, so let's get this show on the road. My name is Jesse. You're on my Painting with Jesse page here on Facebook. I am live streaming this to both Facebook and to YouTube. If you are on YouTube, YouTube's a little bit more versatile because you're able to back up, pause, and then come back to the front if you want on the live streams. Facebook, you can't do that. You can't do that on Facebook. On Facebook, you can only stay with the live portion of it. So if you're interested in being able to back up the video, pause it, etc., you want to watch it on YouTube. And YouTube is basically the same name as, it's Painting with Jesse, just like it is here on Facebook. Anyway, everyone. Okay. Yes, Darla, that umbrella behind me is one of the live sessions here on Facebook. You can always go find the tutorials on the main Painting with Jesse page. At the top, you'll see a tab that says live. You click on that, you're going to see there's an extensive library in there of over 100 videos that you could still watch. All right, everyone. So what are we doing today? We're doing this awesome neon glows under black light painting. Now, I'm going to be using a combination of a basic acrylic paint and neon paint, or paint that glows under black light. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit. You don't have to use anything but acrylic paint. All right. So if you don't care that yours doesn't glow under black light, don't worry about it. You're just going to be using basic acrylic paint or even other mediums. You can use watercolors, oil paints if you really wanted to, pastels, colored pencils, etc. Whatever medium you have, that's what you're going to be using. Now I'm going to be reproducing the painting on this 16 by 20 inch canvas that you see over here to my right. Basically, it's the same size as what's on the original. Of course, you can do this on multimedia paper. You can do it on wood board, pressed canvas board, etc., etc., etc. Okay, let me go over the colors that I'm going to be using for this piece. Now, basic blue. Okay, I've got some fluorescent pink. Now, whatever colors you guys have, that's what you're going to be using. Don't stress too much. If, for example, you don't have a fluorescent pink, don't worry about it. Just use whatever pink you have. I do have a basic pink also that I'll be mixing in with that fluorescent pink to create the background that you see there in that really bright pink. Of course, going to be using some white. Okay, some touches of white. We've got some green. I've got a nice light kind of lime green color. But again, if you don't have that color, if you've got a basic darker green like this and some white, you'll be good to go. Okay, so whatever green you've got, that's what you're going to be using. Whoops, knocking paints over. Hold on a second. Next paint color that I'm going to be using is a little bit of purple. Okay, I've got some purple in the background. I'm going to be using, this is more of a violet, but I'll be using that. And then, of course, we've got some black. Black primarily for the palm trees and the lawn chairs or beach chairs there at the bottom in the sand on the ground. Okay, so that's going to be used for that. Now, I mentioned that I've got some neon colors that I'm going to be using. Okay, the neon colors. Again, this is just acrylic paint that you can buy at a local art store like Hobby Lobby or Michael's. As a matter of fact, I picked this up at Hobby Lobby. But I've got a purple. Okay, again, these are neon colors, or they're called, for example, this one from Deco Art says black light neon. Okay, so I've got purple. I've got a kind of a pink purple. I've got a blue. Okay, I've got a yellow. I've got a little tiny bit of pink. Looks like I've got a little bit left inside of this bottle, but those are my colors, my neon colors that I'm going to be using. Okay, again, if you don't have any of these colors, don't stress about it. Have fun with what you've got. You can always pick up neon colors later and then apply them over the top of your painting. So, for example, if you go through this entire painting with basic acrylic paint, you can always pick up some of these neon colors later and apply them over the top, and your painting will glow under black light. The last thing that I've got besides my brushes is this green glitter paint. I do have a little bit of green glitter that I painted over the palm trees. So I've got some of this green glitter paint that I'm going to be using. This one's a Glitterific brand from Folk Art. Okay, so we'll be using some of that. I've got some paper towels that we use to clean up messes. Also, I use the paper towels to clean up brushes in between steps. So I've got that. Then I've got an assortment of some basic brushes. These are just the recommended brushes. Do not stress if you don't have these exact ones. Anything that's kind of similar in size, and you're going to be okay. But the sizes, the brushes that I've got a big 1-inch flat brush. Primarily, I'll be using this to create the background colors, the stripes and stuff in that background that you see the streakiness that you see there. But again, this big 1-inch flat brush is going to be used primarily for that background. Okay, next brush that I've got in the group is this 6-inch, it's not 6-inch, number 6 flat brush. Okay, little small kind of a detail brush. We'll be using this, for example, to create the mountains, to create the trunks on these trees, maybe the leaves in the palm trees. We're going to use this to maybe paint in the chairs. Okay, but again, small little flat brush. That's a number 6. Next one, a smaller flat brush. Number 2. This is a little number 2. Very thin, very small. Things like the details on the chair. Maybe some of the leaves up here on the palm fronds. Okay, so that little brush. And then I've got a couple of small round brushes for more detail work. These are more like supplemental. I probably will use this for some of the detail in the water. But number 3 and a number 0. Number 3 is the bigger one, of course, and then the 0 is this little small pointy one. All right, we got some stars in the sky. I'll be using one of these little brushes to make those as well. But again, don't stress too much if you don't have these exact brushes. Don't worry about it. If you got something kind of close, you're going to be good to go. Use what you have. All right, let's take a look at the comments here really quickly. Oh, one more thing. Can't forget I've got a rinse cup. I've got some water in here. I use this to rinse my brushes in between steps. I also sometimes will leave my brushes in here for a little while. We don't want the paint to dry out on us in between steps. Another thing that I've got is this little tin with some water in it. Whenever I'm done using a brush, I set my brush like this at an angle inside the tin so that it puts less pressure on those bristles, and there's less likelihood that you're going to get those to bend. Over time, the bristles can get damaged if you continually leave your brushes facing down. Okay, so anyway, let's get moving, everyone. Let's see really quickly. Let's take a look. What do we got? What do we got? All right, no questions or anything like that. If I missed any questions, don't worry about it, folks. I will get back to the comment section here in a little bit. We're going to get moving pretty quickly here. We're probably going to be taking about 2.5 hours approximately to make this painting today. Don't stress about it. Try to keep up. If you fall behind or you simply have to take off because you don't have enough time to finish it, you can come on back later this evening, tomorrow, the next day, and paint with the recorded session. You'll find the recorded session both on Facebook and on YouTube. Okay, so that being said, I'm going to be outlining a step. I give you a little time to implement that step on your end. Go back to the next step. Then I give you a little time to implement the step on your end. We do that through the entire process until we're all done with the piece. In between steps, I come over and I look at your comments. I say hello, I answer questions, and all that sorts of good stuff. For those of you that are joining me today, please let me know where you're painting from and who you're painting with, especially if you're newer to painting with Jesse. But all right, everyone, let me change the view on my screen to get the painting as the main part of the screen there. We start off kind of slowly and then we pick it up as we begin to progress further into the painting. What I'm going to do, and I've already laid out some of the main colors that I'm going to be starting with. I've got some blue here, and then I've got some white. I'm going to mix these together here in a little bit, but I'm going to be using a different plate for this. Oh, I forgot to mention, I use plates as palettes, paint palettes, but I'm going to scoop up some of my blue here. I'm going to bring it over. Okay, I'm going to do that. Then I'm going to grab a little bit of white. Okay, don't need a lot. Just bring a little bit over. Okay, and then what I'm going to do, whoops, almost dropped my plate there, wrong plate. Want the other one. I'm going to do this. I'm going to mix these two colors together. Now, what I want to do here is I don't want to have a perfectly blended mixture here where it's all one color. I want to leave it a little bit streaky, so I'm mixing the two colors, but it's not a complete blend. Now I need a little bit more white in here, so I'm just going to scoop up a little bit more, and I'm going to do this. Okay, again, a little bit streaky. I want to be able to see variations of color in there. What I'm going to do, I'm using my big flat brush here. I'm going to come across the top of my canvas, and by leaving the paint nice and streaky or not fully blended, I can create little streaks within my paint as I apply it to the canvas. Now what I want to do is I want to paint with these long horizontal brush strokes going side to side, and it's a little bit thick. The paint that I'm applying is a little bit thick. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this down on my 16 by 20 inch canvas. I'm going to come down maybe about 1/5 of the way down. About. In the end, everyone's painting turns out a little bit differently, so don't stress about trying to match mine exactly. You can if you want, you can give it a shot. But more importantly is that you create something that you like and that you have fun with the process. Okay, so you're going to paint, you're going to come down a ways, and then again, you just go back up the other way. Okay, so one thing that I want to do is I want to make sure that my line is pretty straight across. I don't want an angle. I don't want it to be at an angle in either direction. Again, pretty straight. So I want to take a little step back. I look at it from a distance because that makes it a little easier to check my work. And then I just make little adjustments. Now that I've got this paint across, I'm going to take a little bit more white. Now I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to press it down against the palette. That squeezes the bristles together, making the tip nice and thin. And I'm just going to come in here and I'm just going to add some of these lighter streaks with this white. This white paint and the blue paint mixed together a little. Oh, I mentioned, okay, I've got some of my blue neon paint. I'm going to take a little bit of it now, just a little bit. Whoops. Let me put this here next to my mixture. Okay, a little bit. So my neon paint. And again, if you don't have any neon paint, don't stress. Don't worry about this step. Just going to scoop up some of this. I'm going to bring it over with the white. Grab a little bit of blue. Okay, again, I press it down. I brush down against the plate to make those bristles nice and skinny. Press those together. And I can just take some of this neon color. You're not going to see much of a difference unless you shine a black light on this. Now, I don't know if I've got my black light in here. If I do, I will demonstrate at the very end what this looks like with the neon paint on it. But can't make any promises. I used that black light a couple of weeks ago at an event, at an in-person event, and I don't think that I returned it to my studio, unfortunately. But we'll see. Maybe I'll get lucky. Anyway, all I'm doing right now is just grabbing some of this neon paint and streaking it over the layer that I just applied. Okay. Now later, once this area is dry, I can always come back and add more neon to it, making that the impact stronger, making the neon features of it more intense. But for now, that's all we really need. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take what I did is I took my paint and I wrapped it around the edge of my canvas. That's an option. I like to do this. Not everybody likes to. Some people like to leave their sides nice and white, but that's entirely up to you. Now I'm going to take this and bring some of this paint across the top as well. All right, you guys have about a minute to catch up on this. I'm going to reuse this brush here, so I'm going to stick it into my rinse cup here, clean it up a little bit. Actually, I want to remove as much of the blue as I can. I don't want to have any blue paint when I start to add in that pink. Otherwise, they'll mix together. I mean, if they mix a little bit, it's okay. If you have a little tiny bit left on your brush. But I want to remove the majority of that paint. Now I'm just going to take a paper towel here. I'm going to squeeze out any of that extra paint that's in there. But all right, everyone, let me take a look at your comments. Oh, absolutely, Karen. How's it going? Yes, I am super excited. The membership is something that I've been working on for quite a while. The idea first formed some months ago But last couple of months, maybe a little bit more, I've really been working hard behind the scenes to get that off the ground. So I'm absolutely excited. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hi, Rosa. How's it going? Cool. Yeah, these are pretty cool. Nice bright colors. What's happening, Sue Kripe? Welcome back, Sue. Thank you, Darla. I really do appreciate it. Hi, Gloria. How's it going, Gloria? Welcome back. Catherine, how's it going? Okay. Oh, thank you, Darla. Yeah, I had one of the light bulbs go out on me yesterday, and I had to figure out. Actually, I just had to move it so it wasn't right behind me. But okay, everyone. So what I'm going to do now is I mentioned earlier, one of the paints that I've got on here is this really bright neon pink. And what I want to do is I don't want to use just that. It's already almost a neon color. Well, you know what? Hold on one second. So this color that I've got on my plate right here, it's kind of a it's actually it's a very fluorescent pink. I'm going to mix that with some of my neon paint, my neon purple or neon pink purple that I've got here. What's going on? Did it dry out on me? It's just being stubborn. Doesn't want to come out. There we go. I'm going to mix these two together. Okay. I do have another pink that's kind of a lighter or more of a pink, more of an actual pink. I may end up using some of that. We'll see here in just a moment. But I'm going to take my 1-inch brush here. I'm going to mix these two colors together. Now I'm going to scoop this. Actually, I should have mixed this on my mix plate. That's okay. I'm going to grab this and bring it over to my mix plate. Okay, just like that. Now, all I need is enough to cover that background in there, right? This area right below where the moon is going to be, or right below where the blue area is now. So what I like to do whenever I'm going to blend, and there is going to be a little bit of blending between these two colors here. I'm going to come over here, I apply the paint well below the area on top, and then what I'll do is I'll slowly start bringing it upwards. I want to use up most of the paint that's on the brush so that by the time I get up to the area where the blue is, there isn't that much paint left on my brush. Now this area where the blue is still a little bit wet, and that's going to help with what's about to happen, which is the colors are going to blend a little bit. Okay, so again, by now there's very little paint left on my brush. So that creates a nice blend. The little bit of paint that's left on the brush, plus the fact that the paint beneath it is the blue is still a little bit wet, you get some nice blending action between the two colors. Okay, just a little area right there where the two meet, where they overlap, creates a nice blend. So now I'm going to take this color and I'm going to come down. This here comes down to about halfway down my canvas. Again, about, right? About. If yours doesn't go down quite that low, this pink area on your painting doesn't go down quite that low, that's okay. Doesn't have to. Maybe yours is a little higher, maybe it's a little lower. Whatever the case, it is all good. It's your painting. As long as you like it, that's what matters. So, again, I take a little step back. I want to make sure that this line down here is nice and straight. I don't want it angled. So it's easier if I take a little step back, and then I can come in and make little corrections. I just need to bring it down a little further on this side. There we go. Now, depending on the pink that you're using, you may have to do a second layer. If it's not bright enough or intense enough, you may have to do a second layer on yours. We'll see once this dries. I'll take a look at my painting again and assess and decide whether I need to do another layer of this pink before I put in those mountains off in the distance. Now, again, just like what we did with the blue, I'm going to take my paint, I wrap it around the edge of the canvas on both sides. kind of like that. Again, also, you noted, of course, that I'm using these long brush strokes. When I'm holding my brush, I'm holding it near the back of the handle. Nothing fancy. I don't need to be doing this where my grip is really tight and close to the front. Nice and loose. It's a more relaxed way of painting. And there we go. Okay, so I'm going to take my brush here. I'm going to put it in my water in my little rinse cup for a moment. Let's take a look at your comments or questions. What's happening, Donna? Cool. Hello, Stephanie, Rosie, Calixto. What's going on today? Donna's pretty awesome. That's probably why you're friends with her. And that's probably why she's friends with you, because you probably are pretty awesome also as well. So very cool. Thank you for painting along today. Who else do we have? Hi, Dorothy. Yeah, no worries. You can always go pick up your paints and come back and paint later. Okay, the video is being recorded, so don't stress out if you don't have the paints today. You can always come on back. Let's see. Okay, looks like I haven't missed any questions. I'm just going back up through the comments. What's up, Delilah from Phoenixville, Pennsylvania? What's going on, Delilah? Jackie Medina from Toronto. It's overcast and rainy. Hi, Jackie. Hope everything's awesome besides the rain. Well, maybe the rain's not too bad. Maybe you like the rain. Sasha Masha. What's happening in Toronto, Sasha? Is it raining where you are as well? All right. Marilyn says, hello from Don, Becky, and Marilyn. Hello, ladies. Audrey Marie says, raining in Wisconsin also. All right. Well, hopefully it's not too bad, and hopefully you're enjoying the rain. I like the rain. As long as it's not raining all the time, I enjoy the rain. But okay, everyone. So next step. Well, the next step is going to, we're going to be using a little bit of green and a little bit of white. We're going to start here in the center. We're going to create this little area down here, down the middle of our ocean. Okay. And for that, we're going to be using a little bit of green and a little bit of yellow. So I've got this, this light green. It's a citrus color from Anita's all-purpose paint. Okay. I'm going to be using a little bit of this and some white. Now, if you don't have a really bright green like this, don't worry about it. Use it. If you've got a darker green, you can always mix it with a little bit of white and lighten it up. Or you can mix it with some yellow. Actually, do that first. Before you mix your green with any white, mix it with some yellow. And I poured out a little too much of my green here, but that's okay. Mix it with some yellow if you have some, and that will lighten it up. It'll make it kind of a lime green color. Now, for this step, I'm not going to be using my big brush here. So I'm going to take it. I'm going to rinse it out a little bit in my rinse cup. And then I'm going to take it and transfer it over to my tin. Again, I use another container with some water in it so I can put the brushes in there sideways like this at an angle. It puts less pressure on the bristles, and it just preserves my brushes for longer. So some white and some green. Okay, I've got my green there on my paint palette. I'm going to take a little bit of white. Actually, you know what? I'm not using the original paint palette anymore. I'm using a different, I grabbed a different plate now to use as a paint palette. Not the most organized painter all the time. So now I've got two main paint palettes. That's okay. And then I'm going to try to do my mixes on this new plate here. All good. So I'm going to grab my number 6 flat brush. If you've got something a little bit bigger, probably be a little bit easier to do this, but either way, you're going to be okay. All right, so number 6 flat, I'm going to take some of my green here. I bring it over to my mix plate. Okay, don't need a lot of this, but you do want to scoop up enough. I'm going to grab some white, okay, next to it like this, and we can mix them a little bit. A little bit of green, a little bit of white. Again, make them kind of swirly so that the two colors aren't totally blended. And then what we're going to do, and again, as I just mentioned, this is probably, I could probably, I'd be better off using a slightly larger brush, but that's okay. No big deal. If I'm going too slowly at this, I'll switch over to a bigger brush. Now I'm holding it where I'm painting with the narrow edge. I pressed the brush down into the plate like this, squeeze those bristles together, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to work my way down like this, down the middle of my canvas, side to side. I work kind of quickly. Later on, after this first layer is done, I can come back and refine this. But for now, I want to spread this paint all the way down. And on the original painting, it starts a little bit narrow up in here and slowly gets a little bit bigger the further down it gets. That's not crucial. You don't have to do that, but it is up to you. If you want to change that up, if you want to keep it all the same width all the way down, you can. If you want to make it a little bit wider as it gets down to the bottom, that will work too. The problem with using such a small brush is that you can't load up enough paint on it to last you a long time, right? So I have to very often go over and reload my brush with paint. It's nice. It's a nice brush because it allows me to make these really nice thin lines, but probably a slightly larger brush would have been more ideal. Moral of the story, though, is you don't have to have a perfect brush. It does help to have the right brush selected, but doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, and I'm just going back and overlapping a little bit the work that I've already done. Now I'm going to take a little step back, look at my painting from a distance. I want to make sure that I'm down the middle, and now I'm just going to come over to the sides here, and I'm going to expand the areas left and right. Now this is the first layer of paint, as I've already mentioned. Later, when I add some of the blues, after I've added the blues and the greens to the sides, once this area is dry in here, we can come back in with another layer of green and make everything more intense, stand out a little bit more refined. Okay, that'll do it right there, at least for now. So I don't have, at least I don't think I've got any. I'll check in a moment. It's a one neon paint that I didn't see earlier in my paint box, my little paint kit. Thought I had my green neon paint here in the studio, but I may have left it at home. So I'll look for it. I might have it over in my paint kit in just a bit. I'll take a look. And if we do, I'll come back and add some of that over the top of what I've done. If not, I could always take some of the neon green, mix it, or neon yellow, mix it with some green and create some neon green. Okay, so easy fix, easy workaround, or actually more ideal would be I mix the yellow, the neon yellow, and the neon blue, and that's going to give us a neon green. That's what we'll do. But all right, take a moment to catch up with that. You got about a minute, and who do we got? Kim, how's it going? Don't worry about it, Kim. You're good to go. Okay. Again, folks, remember on YouTube, you can always go back. If you jump over to YouTube, on YouTube, you're able to back up the live feed. Okay, so if if you're starting a little bit late, that's where you'd want to go. Watch this on YouTube so you can back up the video feed and start from the beginning. You can't do that on Facebook. But all right, let's see. What's happening? Is it Tassadit from Algeria? How are you, my friend? Let's see, Karen, are you asking about what brand do I use for the paint or for the brushes, or what do you mean? Could you clarify? But Diane Clemens, do you cover the whole area with neon or just add streaks? So I just add streaks. Great question. So when I come in here with the neon paint later, I will come in here. Now okay, so let me back up a little bit. So up here with my blue and my white that I added up here, I did mix in a little bit of neon blue. That's already going to give it a little bit of a neon effect. On top of that, once this is dry, I can come back in and add more streaks. It all depends on how much I want this to glow under black light. So if I really want it to stand out under that black light, then I can come in and add more streaks over the blue. Here with the pink, I also blended in some neon pink for the same reason. I want that background, because it's part of the sky, I want it to already have some of that glow in it. But if I want it to glow more, I can come in and add more of the neon, okay? And you could do it in streaks, or here in the pink, you could do it where it's all one. You can cover everything nice and evenly, so it's less streaky. But again, that's kind of up to you. In the water, I use the neon more sparingly. I do use it more in subtle streaks. But we'll talk about that a little bit more, but that's a great question. You have some options, okay? You can do it whichever way you'd like. What's up, Mary? How's it going? Fantastic. Thank you for coming and hanging out. Sounds good, Cindy. Yep, come on back whenever you're ready. But all right, let's continue here. So I've got a little bit of blue and I've got some green, right? I'm going to take some blue. I'm going to scoop it up. Same brush, because they're going to mix. The colors are going to mix a little bit. I didn't have to clean up my my brush too much or anything like that. I didn't worry about cleaning it. Again, I still have a little bit of green in there, but I've got some of that blue. I'm going to grab these guys and just mix them a little bit. Again, I want swirly, okay? I can see a little bit of both of the colors within that mixture, and that's what I'm looking for. Now, if I wanted to, I could take a little bit of my neon paint and mix that in, throw that in there, and already create a little bit of a glow, but I'm not gonna do that right now, okay? So here we go. I'm going to start on the edges with this color. Now here I'm going to leave some spacing, a little bit in between some of the streaks that I'm creating. I'm going to come in with that green a little bit later and put some of that in between these lines. And again, I'm using my brush. I press down against my palette to push those bristles in together, and then I use the edge, the skinny edge of these bristles, the skinny edge of the brush, to create these skinny lines. And they overlap a little bit. And again, because I'm using such a small brush, I have to keep reloading. So maybe not ideal, but it still works. Again, I'm purposefully leaving the spacing in between these lines so that I can come back in with some green and fill those areas in. I do want to take this blue into my green area a bit. So I carry these streaks like this in some of the parts. I bring them into the green like that, right? Now, depending on the type of paint that you're using, I'm assuming most of you are working with acrylic paint. Acrylic paint is such that in most cases, you want to mix a little bit of water in with your paint. So what some artists like to do is they just dip their brush into the water cup and then bring a little bit of paint over and mix it into their paint, or they dip the wet brush into the paint, and that introduces water into that mixture. So what that does is it just helps the paint flow a little bit better. Some paint already comes really nice and flowy, right? It flows nicely, and you can easily get the paint to stick to your canvas. But if you're at all having any kind of difficulty getting your paint to adhere to the canvas, if you're struggling a bit, add a little bit of water to it. Take your brush, dip it into your water cup. So you'd be doing something like this. You dip it into your water cup, and then you bring that water over. You can blend it in with your mixture. And again, that just makes it a lot easier to get the paint to flow. It gives it a little bit more of an ink consistency. So now we're over on the other side, and same thing. We're just going to make these streaks up and down all the way across. Some of them overlap. You still want to leave some of that spacing in between your brush lines. I'm scooting over a little bit. I'm trying not to block the camera here, but I need to be able to get over to the right side of my canvas. So I'm just going to angle it over a little bit, turn it towards me. Now, don't be shy. If you want to change up your painting, make some changes to it. Make it different than what I've got up here. If you want to get creative with it, please do so. It's your painting. Maybe you're using different colors, maybe different types of brush strokes. Maybe your water's choppier. Maybe your skies are a different color. All good. So again, with the water, for the moment, I don't have any neon color mixed into my paint. We'll add that later. I want the glow primarily to be in the sky. You could do it the opposite, or perhaps you want everything to glow equally as intense. Okay, so let me go over to this plate over here. I've got some more of that blue paint. So I'm bringing it over. And then as far as the black lights, you can always pick up the black lights online. Amazon carries those. You can get those like little flashlights or lamps where when you hang up your painting, you can always they have these little tiny lamps that also attach to the walls, or you can put a lamp on a table and aim the head towards your painting. Makes for a really cool effect. But these neon paints, they do two things. Of course, they glow under black light, but they also produce a kind of a fluorescent quality to the finish of your painting. But all right, we're about to switch it up here in just a moment, so you have about a minute to finish this part up here. The important part in this step is that whatever brush you're using, that you can make it narrow. By pressing down like this against the plate, you squeeze those bristles together. The head gets nice and narrow, and now you can make nice, thin lines across. You could use one of the smaller round brushes for this, but it's a little easier, a little faster to do it. Usually that's the case, to do it this way. Now I just want to come over and make sure that I bring some of these blue streaks somewhat towards the center of my green area here. All right. And there is that. So you got, like I said, you got about a minute. You know what? I think I need to bring my streaks a little bit further in. So let me just make that correction here really quickly. So I'm just going to take some of these and kind of do this. Bring them inwards. A little bit more. So not sure if you, I know some of you have, I think I saw a comment or two pop up. If you've heard, I posted the official details around my membership, the private Painting with Jesse membership. It's going to be launching August 2nd is the first active date that the membership goes live. If you guys are interested in checking out the details, go over, when you have a moment, go over to the main Painting with Jesse page here on Facebook, and you'll see all of the important details. This Friday at 1 p.m. Pacific time, I'm going to be doing a live Q&A session here on Facebook where I'm going to take your questions. If you submit a question, if you send it over to me, or if you put it in the comments to that post from earlier today, I'm going to be taking those questions, compiling them, and then I'm going to be answering them during the Q&A on Friday. I'm going to be recording the Q&A in case anybody can't make it. I'm going to be posting the recorded session so that, you know, maybe you can't be on there, but you can always come back and watch it later. All right, there we go. I think that works for now. In just a moment, we're going to come in and add some green to the area on the left there. What's happening, Mindy? Awesome, Mindy. Thank you for stopping by. Jody Smith, how's it going? Emily, how are you? Cindy says, hi, Jesse. Just watching today, 89 in LA. California. We'll get my canvas out later. Sounds good, Cindy. It's a little hotter where I am down here in I'm a little further south. It's probably about 95 right now. So not too crazy hot, but it is still a little hot. But all right, guys, I'm looking at the comments now. In case any of you have any questions, please put those down in the comments. What's happening, Melissa? I am painting with my daughter, Alina. We are in Indiana. Hello to you and Alina. Hope you're having some fun, enjoying the process. Please make sure, folks, that you're not shy. Leave questions in the comments. That way, you know, a lot of times people are a little bit afraid to ask a question, but you'd be surprised as to how many other people have the same question as you do. So please don't be shy. Put any questions in the comments, and I will, as long as I see it, I will take a little time to answer you. Okay? But all right, so here we go. Let's continue with our piece here. Now, just because I want to speed up the process a little bit, I am going to switch to a slightly larger flat brush for this next step. Okay? I've got this little 1/2-inch flat brush that I'm going to be using. Same process as I just used a little bit ago. I'm just going to take some of this green. Now, I'm not going to mix this with any white at this point. I'm just going to scoop it up. It's already nice and flowy, so I don't have to add any water to it. I could if I want to make it even flowier, but we'll see. Again, I want to press my brush down against the palette to make the bristles, to squeeze those bristles together, and here we go. So all I'm doing is taking this green. Now, a little bit of this is going to overlap, but I'm primarily taking this and putting it in between some of my blue streaks. So these little white areas that you can see peeking through the canvas, or where the white of the canvas is peeking through. I'm just taking my paint and I'm brushing right over that. Again, there's a little bit of overlap. Some of my blue paint is still wet. No big deal. The colors are going to blend together, and that's pretty cool. And as you can see with this bigger brush, I'm able to work a lot more quickly because I don't have to keep reloading and adding more paint. Again, as long as you can get it thin by pressing it down against the canvas, you make your bristles nice and skinny. So you can make these skinny lines. That's all you really need. So in that membership, in case you are new to the page, have not been following for a while, I have been giving some details, dropping hints throughout the last few weeks about the membership. There are going to be painting and drawing sessions for both kids and adults. Okay. Now the kids component is going to be a lot, a little less refined. Let's say it's going to be primarily drawing and painting lessons, stencils where they're applicable, and but the adult content, we're going to have lots of fundamentals trainings, Q&A sessions, drawing, painting sessions, stencils, everything's archived. Anyway, lots to list. But again, if you're interested, go check out the post from earlier today. You'll get a lot more information there. Okay. Other side now. Now I can already see that my left side has a lot more green in it, or my painting on the left has a lot more green in it than the original. That's okay. I can always come back and add more blue over the top of this if I want it to be more like the original. So same thing on the other side, just coming through, taking my green paint, primarily painting in between my blue streaks, but it does overlap a little bit. Colors are going to blend a bit. All good. All right, going to clean up my brush a little bit. Now I'm going to go back to just the blue paint. I'm going to go ahead and take some of my neon. Let's see. I think I've still got some plate. I got a plate over here with some neon on it. So I'm going to take some of that blue and I'm going to use the same brush that I was just using. I'm going to scoop up this neon blue. I'm going to bring it over here. Then I'm going to grab, let's see. I'm going to grab some of this blue, put it back, or add some more of this dark blue to my palette because I'm running out. Let's see, we'll go right there. Then I'm going to scoop some of that, bring it over, mix those two. So a little bit of neon, a little bit of the regular blue, and now I'm going to come in here and add these darker streaks right over the top of that first layer of blue. This added layer is making this blue quite a bit darker because it blends in with the layer underneath. So oftentimes the first layer of paint will be lighter because it is a bit transparent and the canvas underneath makes that color on top a little bit lighter. So by doing a second layer, I can intensify the blue. And of course, it's got a little bit of the neon color in it now, so there's going to be a little bit of a glow. Okay. Other side, same thing. All right. Let me take a step back. Always take a step back from time to time. Assess your work from a distance. This way, it's a lot easier to see any adjustments that you need to make. Later on, when we add the moon, we're going to come in and add some of those white streaks within the water here in the center. Okay, it's going to change things up a little bit. It's going to make this area in here look a little more like the original, okay, with the white streaks of water in there and the white streaks of light. And then again, we'll probably take some blue neon and green neon, or blue neon, yellow neon, mix the two together and come back and add some neon green inside that water. All right. What's happening, Kathy Reeves? Sounds good, Dina Johnson. But all right, guys, take about a minute to catch up, and we're moving on to the next step here in just a moment. Before I forget, and I was about to forget, that next step, before we move on to the next step, I'm going to take my paint. Now, some of you probably are already doing this, but I'm going to take my paint here, my blue paint. I'm going to grab a little bit of the blue and the green. Doesn't have to be blended. I just want to wrap some of this color around my edges. And you can make it streaky like in here, up to you. I'm just taking a mixture of the two colors, the green and the blue, and I'm just going to wrap it over to the sides. Doesn't have to look just like the front as far as the streakiness is concerned. I just like to wrap color around the edges of my canvas. If you want to get technical, you can bring these streaks on the inside here and wrap them around. Okay. I don't paint the bottom edge, the very bottom underneath. I don't paint that till the very, very end. Otherwise, it will glue the painting to my easel, and we don't want that. I got a little pink up here, so let me take that off. I accidentally brought some of the pink up there with my hand. So I got some pink paint up there in that blue area. So I accidentally brought some pink up there. I just took a paper towel, lightly damp, and I just removed it. The paint was still wet, so it was easy to take off. And now I've got to repair that area up there. So just going to grab a little bit of the original mixture, which was the blue and the white. Then I had a little bit of the neon, so I'm going to throw that in there too. What I do is I just come in here and really lightly, got a little bit of paint on the brush here, I just lightly feather it on. There we go. Okay, so next step. The next step is we're going to be adding the little mountain range in the background. Now that could be a mountain or it's an island off in the distance. In my painting, it's a mountain range that's back there. So I've got some of this purple color here that I'm going to mix with some neon. Okay, I'm going to grab the same brush that I was just using. Okay, this 1/2-inch flat brush. I'm going to grab some of the purple. I don't need a lot, so I'm just going to, instead of pouring it out of the bottle. I'm just going to scoop it up with this brush, and I'm going to bring it over to my palette. Let's see here. Yeah, right here. Now, if you don't have purple, you can always mix it. You can always make some purple. Little blue, little red. And then you could tone it with white. You can raise the color a little bit. If you need it brighter, you just add a little bit of white to it. So there's my purple. I'm going to take some neon now. Again, some of this stuff here. Let's see here. This one. Okay. And bring it over. This one's being really stubborn here. There we go. Okay. Now, I'm going to grab a little bit of both of those. Bring those over. Okay. Mix the two together. Now the main thing that I want here is a color that's darker than the background. Okay, so let me see here. Need a little bit darker than that. Now, instead of introducing more of the purple, I can simply take a little bit of blue and add it in there, and that's going to make it darker. Okay, let's try that. So some of my regular blue, I'm just going to scoop up a little bit of it. Don't need a lot. Here over to the side. There we go. That's what I want. Now this paint is pretty thick because the original purple is pretty thick. And take my brush, dip it into my water cup, bring that paint over. Do that a couple times. Now, here we go. I'm going to start with the center here. So right in here, got that little mountain range that's back there. So right in there. Okay, actually I'm going to switch brushes. Back to the number 6 flat brush that I was using down in here originally. So what I'm going to do first is, I'm going to start with a little line here in the center. Okay, it's going to give me the height of that little peak there in the center. And the reason why I start with a really small line is because this is easily fixed. If I don't like it, that's easy to remove. Okay, I can take that right off. But I like that. Okay, maybe I want to come up just a little tiny bit higher. This is probably about 2 inches, 2.5 inches here on my 16 by 20 inch canvas. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the outer edges or the top edge of my mountain range. So I'm start on one side. I'm just going to kind of do this. Come across. Gets narrower as it goes over to the left. What's happening, Ivy from San Diego? San Diego, one of my favorite places to go hang out. It's about an 1.5-hour drive for me, so pretty cool. Okay, now the other side. Again, just doing the outline for now. Once I've got that, I can switch back to my bigger brush. Once I've got that, the outline done, I can come in here and paint the inside. Now, this paint mixture that I just made is pretty transparent, and it's very likely I'm going to need a second layer of this. So we apply this first layer. It's going to be blotchy and uneven. We're not worried about that. We will come back Once this dries, we'll come back and add a second layer of paint over the top, and it's going to make it a lot more intense. Okay. Now, you guys, I'm going to give you a close-up of the original here. There's quite a bit of blotchiness in this paint. Okay. Again, that's not really concerning at this moment. Usually, the first layer, especially when we're trying to create something solid like a mountain range in the distance, is going to be blotchy. We apply the paint layer, we wrap it around the edges, and then we let this dry. We're going to move on to the next step. As we're doing some of the other stuff, this layer will dry and we'll come back and add a second layer over the top of this. If you're sitting here trying to make this all nice and even on this first step, all you're going to be doing is moving paint around from one side to the other, and you're just going to be moving the blotchiness around. You got to let the layer dry, and then you'll come back with that second and sometimes third layer, and you'll even things out then. Okay? So there you go. Hey, Wanda Jean, how's it going? Yep, absolutely. You already know how it works. Come on back tomorrow, the next day. Or if you tune in on YouTube, you'll be able to back the video up during the live session. Remember, YouTube allows you to back it up to the beginning if you'd like. So, all right. You got about a minute, and then we're moving on to the next step. Ivy, are you having eye surgery today? Good luck with that, whenever it is. Hopefully everything turns out well. I'm sure it will. But definitely, good luck with that. Neha from San Diego, how's it going? Another San Diegonite. Is that what you'd call that? San Diegoino? There's Los Angelinos. Very cool. Who else is on here? Let's see what else we got. All right, Tina. Hanging out and painting right now, huh? Fantastic. Natalie Johnson says 95 is perfect weather. You know what, Natalie? It's a little too hot for me. I like mid 80s. Low to mid 80s is my ideal. But 95 isn't too bad. I'll take it. Good, Neha. Good to hear. But all right, everyone, you got about 30 seconds. June from Korea. I think that might be a first. June. Awesome. How cool is that? Are you painting along, or are you just stopping by to say hello? Yeah, I don't think anyone's ever popped up in the comments saying they're from Korea. I'm sure we might have had some people jump on from Korea, but first time I see a comment from somebody from Korea, so that is pretty awesome. Welcome, June. Welcome. Okay, so as this is drying here, before we apply a second layer there, as I've already mentioned, we're going to come up here. Not sure if you guys can see. There are these little tiny white stars up in the sky. I talked about it at the very beginning when we were talking about our supplies. So you can take one of your little brushes. I've got my round number 0. You can use a round number 3. Now you can do the stars, which are just little dots, one of two ways. You can do it with the tip of your bristles, right? You can also do it with the back end of a smaller brush. You can take your brush handle and do the stars with that instead of with your bristles. Now, if you're going to be using your handle, the smaller the brush, the smaller the bristles, right? So you would simply, smaller the brush, the smaller the stars. So the smaller the handle, the smaller the stars. So you would dip the brush right into the paint, and you'd come up here. I like to use my finger here. I press it up against the canvas. It allows me to control the pressure a little bit easier, a little bit better, right, for me. For you to be able to control that pressure, you just put your finger down like that, and you can easily make different size stars by controlling that pressure. I can also place my palm up against the canvas like this and just lightly, whoops, almost out of paint. Lightly touch it and make really, really tiny dots, or put a little more pressure and make slightly bigger ones. Okay, so that's one way, again, using the back handle of a small brush, or if you've got a small enough brush here, little tiny round brush like this, number 0, you can just use the bristles instead, and you can spin the brush in the paint, pressing down up, press down against the plate, you spin it, and that makes your point even smaller. Now you can, using the same method, palm against the canvas or pinky against the canvas. Now in this case, I am holding the brush a lot closer to the tip than you've seen me doing so far throughout the painting. Holding the brush closer to the top gives me more control. I'm able to better control how much of the bristles touch up against the canvas. And again, same thing, if I put a little more pressure down, I'm going to try to do this sideways so it's easier for you guys to see. If I put more pressure on the bristles, the dot gets bigger. So that's how we control that. Make as many stars as you want. Maybe your sky is filled with stars. Maybe yours has very few stars, and then maybe for some of you, your sky has no stars. Entirely up to you. And you can bring them down a little bit. If you wanted to, you could even bring them down into the pink part of the sky. In my painting, they're only up along the darker part, the blue and where the two colors kind of meet and make a purple. All right. Sounds great, Diane. Sounds great. So Neha, I'm using acrylic paint. Okay. Now the brands that I'm using today, and these are probably so all the brands that you're about to hear me talk about are the brands that I normally use for my painting sessions. Okay. I like to use this Artist Loft brand from Michaels. Okay. It's a nice flowy paint, good coverage, pretty good quality. Good bang for your buck for this bottle. Normal price for this 1 quart bottle, almost a full liter, is about $10 plus tax. You get it with one of those coupons, you can get it for up to 40%, and this will last you quite a long time. So that's one brand, Artist Loft. Another one, this one's a little bit thicker. This one's a little bit more intense also. There's more pigment in the paint. This is, the brand is The Fine Touch, and I think I picked this one up at Hobby Lobby, if I'm not mistaken. The Fine Touch at Hobby Lobby. Okay, very good paint. And this one here, this is a little bit more expensive. It's a smaller bottle or a smaller container. This one's about the same price as that quart one. Okay, but good paint for this stuff. Another one that I use, you guys heard me talking about it earlier, Anita's all-purpose acrylic paint. This is good little craft paint. Has some pretty decent quality in it. This little bottle is about a little over $3, and I think I picked this up at Walmart. I was in a pinch one time, and I picked this up. I used it, and I liked it, so I do use it from time to time. It's not a bad paint. It's not an awesome paint, but it's not bad. And then this one here is my, I believe this one's from Folk Art, if I'm not mistaken, or Deco Art. American, gosh, I can't remember the name on this one. I'm gonna have to look up one of my other bottles. Even though I get this stuff all the time, I don't at the moment. My brain isn't working, but this is another good one, and I picked this one up at Hobby Lobby as well. Okay, but anyway, I'll try to look up the name on that one. But if you pick up any of those, you're pretty good to go. Okay, here we go. Next step. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to go ahead and put in the moon. This big moon, we're going to put that into the sky. Now on my painting, this moon is right, it's pretty much right in the center. Okay, over here, it's right just about in the center of my painting. So it's up to you where you put yours. Obviously, up here, right above my moon, is where I have one of my palm trees. But I'm going to take my number 2, my little number 2 flat brush, little skinny guy. What I'm going to do first with that moon is I'm going to put in the center of it first. Little tiny dot where the center of my moon is going to sit. Give me 1 second. I'm going to go ahead and pour out some more white paint here on my palette. Okay. Now, to scoop up a little bit of this paint, looks like there's a bristle in there. There we go. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come over here and I'm going to find the point in my sky where I want the center of my moon to sit. And that's probably going to be about right here. So I'm just going to come over. I'm going to put a nice little dot there in the center. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to build on that circle slowly to make it larger. I'm freehanding this moon. What you could do, you can always take a bottle of some type, put it up on your canvas, and then trace it with a pencil or chalk or with your brush. Okay? Find a container so you have a nice round moon for those of you that are worried about struggling to make your moon nice and round. Okay, you can use the bottom of a bottle or a can or something like that. But if you're going to freehand it, once you got your little dot there in place, what you can do then is you start to swirl around the edges, little swirls, slowly making it bigger as you go. Now, the reason why you don't start when you're freehanding, especially as a beginner or if you struggle with the drawing part of it, the reason why you don't start right from the beginning with the outer edge is because if you make it too large and you don't like it, that's harder to fix. Rather, if you go slowly and work your way up like this, you can take a little step back, look at it from a distance, and then go some more. And you can go in either direction. But this is just a safer way to create your moon. Freehand. Once you get to the size that you want, you can work on correcting the edges, making it rounder, right? Making it more even. But again, you take your time with it. You slowly build up to the size that you want. Now that might be the size that you want. And also I'm noticing that my moon is a little over to my right of the top of my mountain. That's easy to fix. I can start focusing as I start to add to my moon. I can start focusing on taking my paint and bringing it over to the other side. So kind of like that. You notice I'm bringing it over to the to the left. So by going slowly, I'm able to make those adjustments. Now it doesn't have to be perfectly centered, right? But up to you. I'm not worried about anything else right now except for the size and then the overall shape. I've got a little bristle on my brush here that's popping out. I'm trying to fix it so it doesn't interfere with my painting. All right. Take a little step back, and here I go again. I know this can be a little tedious for some of you. Patience is a part of the process. Everyone has a different style, different personality that all plays into your art. So whatever suits you is what you'll do, is what you'll use. There we go. Now, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my big brush here, my 1/2-inch brush, just to clean up the inside. That's about as big of a moon as I want. And we are going to be layering this, working this moon in layers. So for now, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, I just cleaned up my 1/2-inch flat brush, and I'm just going to take my paint in here, just even it out a little bit. There we go. Later, I'm going to come in here and add a second layer over the top of this once this is dried, and that moon's going to get a lot lighter and brighter. Okay? But all right, so work on that for a little bit. Hi, Ananya. How's it going? Let's see. For a few paint tubes, I am running out of paint. Oh, I see. I see, Ivy. Okay, I got you. Well, good. Sounds great. Happy to hear. Oh, June, pretty cool. You're watching the video on the subway on the way to work. How cool is that? That sounds pretty awesome, June. Miranda Edwards from Alabama. How's it going today? Thank you for stopping by and saying hello. Hopefully you get a little time to paint. All right. 30 seconds. And again, let me give you a close-up of my moon. Again, just wanted to show you guys that it's a little bit blotchy, a little bit transparent. You could see down in here, for example, some of the pink of the background coming through. That's no big deal. Once this is all dry, we'll come back in and do a second layer, and that's going to go away. Might need a third layer, but for now, you concentrate on the shape and the size of the moon, okay? 15 seconds. Okay, everyone. So by now, my little mountain range back here is nice and dry. Okay, I could go ahead and add the second layer of paint over that now to intensify the colors in here, make them more even. But for some of you, it may not be dry yet. So what we're going to do instead of starting on the next step in here, we're going to go ahead and put in the black. So this is all in silhouette, is basically why this is all black, right? We're going to go ahead and put in the ground, the floor, the sand. And for that, like I mentioned, I have this black that I'm going to be using. So I'm going to take my palette, okay, and I'm going to add some of this black to it. We're only going to add the ground for now, and then after that, by that time, it'll be safe to add that second layer of paint on that mountain range. So I've got some black here on my mix plate, on my palette. I'm going to grab my 1/2-inch brush again. This brush is getting a lot of use. Okay, I'm going to clean it up a little bit. Now, with this black, even though it's pretty flowy, I do want to add a little bit of water to it. So I'm taking it, bringing it over to my mix plate. Okay. And I grab my brush, I dip it into my rinse cup to bring some water over. I'm going to do that a couple times, especially when we get into the palm trees. When we actually start to paint in the trunks and the leaves, you definitely want to have some water in your paint. Now, you never want to have, maybe not never, you typically don't want to add so much water to the paint where the paint starts to run. Okay. If it gets runny, you'll see it, right? One way to test for that is you hold your plate like this sideways. If the paint starts to run, you've added too much water to it. You want to add a little bit more paint. But typically, when you add water to your paint, you don't want to get it that saturated. Okay, so I've got my brush here. I'm going to go ahead and make this area down here in the ground. I'm going to go ahead and do this. On the right side, I'm going to make a little mark right there. That is where that little area where the hill starts to form. If you imagine there's a little hill off to the side and the palm trees, that's where the palm trees come out of. And then over on the left side, I'm going to make a little mark over here too. If this is a little lower than that side, no big deal. It could be the opposite. This side could be higher, that side could be lower, entirely up to you. And I'm just doing the outline. So this comes down like this, goes into this little depression that's eventually going to have the chairs. Just bring this down, come across, and like that. Okay? Less is more. You can less is more. I don't even know what I don't know what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is you want to, if you're going to make a mistake on this, you want to make it smaller than what you want it, because if you make it too big too soon, just like your moon, if it's too large, if that area is too high up, you're going to have a hard time fixing it. So instead, start small, and if you need to make it bigger, you can always increase it, right? Increase the height. So start small and then assess it, and if you need to, make an adjustment by increasing. So let's say, for example, that I started up here with a line, and I'm like this. I go across, and then I fill all that in, and I look at it. I'm like, oh no, that's too big. It's not as big as I wanted. That's really difficult to fix because you have all that black paint to work with. It can be done, especially when the paint is still wet, but it's better like this. Start really small, take a little step back, assess it, and then you can always adjust and add more to it. Okay, I'm coming around the sides here, wrapping the black around my edges. Okay, nice and easy, no big deal. Okay, now watch. If I wanted to, what I was mentioning is this. Let's say that I step back and I'm like, wow, that's too small. That area down there is too low. It isn't, but let's say that it was. I could easily just take my brush and add a little bit at a time, slowly increasing it to the size that we want, to the size that I'm looking for. Okay, I am going to raise this up just a little bit. Just a touch. All right. Okay, now that I've done this, this is all. It gave this a little more time to dry. So in just about a minute, we're going to come in and add that, okay? But all right, I'm looking over at the comments. Who has any questions for me? Who wants to say hello? Who's celebrating a birthday or an anniversary or anything like that? For those of you in the United States, we just celebrated the 4th of July this past Sunday. So hopefully you all had a fantastic time. Got to see a lot of fireworks in my neighborhood. Fireworks is actually a location that does fireworks just like a half a mile away. So the fireworks were like, it felt like they were right above my house. Pretty cool. Kyra Valenzuela, how's it going, Kyra? Tasha Greenleaf. Hi, Tasha. Thank you, Tasha. Don't be shy, everyone. Say hello. Ask your questions. all that other good stuff. Aaron, where are you, Aaron? What part of the country are you in that you did your own fireworks? I had lots of neighbors doing tons of fireworks all around me too, so I was surrounded by them. I had the big fireworks display behind the house, actually a little over to the left, and then but neighbors all over the place were lighting theirs too, so it was fun times. Not for the dogs now. Lots of the dogs in the neighborhood lose their minds over fireworks, and I feel bad about that. But okay, Springfield, Oregon, pretty cool. Pretty cool. All right, everyone. So moving on here. Now, what I'm going to do, as I've already mentioned, I'm going to go ahead and add a second layer of paint here to the top of my mountain range. Again, maybe that's an island on your painting. An island across from yours. You're sitting on an island in your little lawn chairs, chilling over here, and you're looking across, and there's another little island across from you. Me and my dad saw tons of fireworks. That's pretty cool. We did a 4th of July painting the Saturday before. We did this guy right here. For those of you that might be interested, we did this the Saturday, July 3rd. We did this one. Has lots of glitter on it. Pretty cool. The video is in the library here on Painting with Jesse. If you guys are interested, go check that out. This was a fun one. Another fun one. They're all fun. Always have a good time here on Painting with Jesse. But okay, I'm going to grab some of my green. Sorry, not this one. I was about to, excuse me, grab the wrong paint here. I want to grab the purple mixture that I made with the regular purple and the neon for that. I think I also added a little bit of blue. So back to that original mixture. Going to make a little bit more because my original is gone. So just going to take some of that dark purple, right? I'm going to bring that over here. I'm going to add some of the the black light, purple pink. Not sure why this is so thick. That's partly why I had to add water to my mixture for that part, because that was super thick. All right, now I'm going to grab a little bit of the blue, right? Because we had a little blue that we mixed in there to make it nice and dark. So we got all three colors here on the plate. Let's go ahead and mix those together. Still had some blue on the plate there, so. All right, and the color, this new color does not have to match that exactly. The main thing is I want to make sure that it's darker than the sky, right? Darker than that pink in the sky. So as I'm mixing this, I'm going to go ahead and take my brush and dip it into my water cup to bring some of that water over. So dip it in my water cup, bring that water into the mixture, helps make the paint flow better. So that's what we want. But again, want to be careful we don't add so much paint that we make it runny. All right, here we go. All right, one more drop of water. There we go. That's it. That's it right there. Here we go. So now with this second layer, my mountain range is going to get nice and even, quite a bit more intense, solid. Maybe not intense. Intense isn't the word. Solid's the right word. On something like this, where you have to be careful is right here along the horizon line with the water, where the mountain and the water meet, the landmass. So obviously this isn't a mountain coming out of the water or floating in the water. There's a landmass over there, and it's got mountains on it. In case that wasn't clear. you know, got to clarify things around here sometimes. But there we go. Take a look at that, right? Much more solid, much more even. And that's what we're looking for this part of the painting. Excuse me. As always, take a little step back. Usually, especially between big steps, I like to take a moment and look at my painting from a distance. Right? When you look at your painting from a distance, it gives you a better perspective. You're able to see the whole thing, and oftentimes it makes it so that you can spot areas that need a little bit of adjustment much easier than if you're up close and tight to the painting. Being up close and tight, you develop a little bit of a tunnel vision. So stepping away from it gives you a better perspective, and you're better able to see the whole thing as a whole. Okay, so always take a few moments to do that. In between steps, take a step back. Look at, for example, here I'm looking at my mountain range. I'm looking at my moon, and then just kind of making a quick assessment. Are there any changes I need to make? I like what I've got, so I'm good to go to the next step. And what is that step? Glad you guys are asking. Now we could do this one of two ways. We could jump right in. Am I unmuted? Yes, I am unmuted. But I was talking to myself for a moment. So we can do this one of two ways. We could jump right into the lawn chairs at the bottom, and that's probably the correct way to go. Okay. Or we could jump into the palm trees, specifically the palm tree, the shorter of the two palm trees. And the reason why we would do that one first, we would focus on the actually, you know what? I guess we could do it either way. Either one would be okay. Either of the two palm trees. The only thing is that if we jumped into the palm trees now, the background here where the mountain range is, that's still wet. And so we'd be painting a little bit over that wet paint, which we want to avoid. So to give this a little bit of time to dry, we're going to go ahead and start working on those the chairs, the beach chairs. Let me see if I can get a better close-up of this. I'm going to give it a close-up so it's easier for you guys to see what I'm about to do. Now, I'm going to paint those. I'm going to paint those in using a small paintbrush. I'm going to draw those in with a small paintbrush. Pretty easy to do. We're going to break these down into some easy steps that you guys are going to be able to follow with no problem. Now, maybe some of you want to do this with a piece of chalk or a pencil first before you actually apply any paint to the canvas. Chalk is always easiest because chalk is really easily removed. You can take a piece of chalk, any light color, for example, this purple one, draw what it is that you're going to be needing to paint over, and if you don't like it, you easily erase it. Okay, so for this next step, I'm going to be doing this with my paintbrushes. You can do it with pencil or with chalk. Give me 1 second. I'm going to make an adjustment to my camera here a little tiny bit. Too much. There we go. It was turned over to the wrong side. Okay, so again, this next step, you can do it with chalk or with a pencil first before you start to paint. I'm going to take my little zero brush, little tiny skinny thing. Actually, hold on 1 second. I grabbed the number 3. Don't want a number 3, want a 0. The reason why I'm picking the 0 is because it's really small and I can make tiny lines with it. Before I get started on drawing these in, I want to do a couple of things. I want to make an assessment. I'm going to turn my canvas towards me just a little bit. I want there to be space in between both of my chairs, right? So one's going to be somewhere over here, and one's going to be somewhere over here. You can start, if you notice here, these are just rectangles. There's a rectangle at an angle. There's another rectangle. That's what we're going to start with first. Okay, then we'll add in the armrests. Okay, but the big things, the potential problems that you can have when you're making these, first one is that you make them too close, and so that you don't leave enough room for the armchairs, for the armrests. That's probably the biggest possible mistake you can make, is putting in the chairs so close together that then the armchairs don't work. So this is a round brush, number 0 round. Okay, thank you for that question. I probably didn't specify. Very good question, very important. 0 round brush. Okay, little detail brush. So again, what you want to focus on is that you don't make those chairs so close together that the armrests, that you don't leave enough room for the armrests. The other thing is that you don't make them so high that your perspective is thrown off, and then maybe the palm trees won't work. So those are the 2 things that you would want to be careful on this next step. So I've still got some of my black paint here. I'm going to dip my brush into the water cup. Okay, I want to make sure I have a nice amount of water in here, so that it's easy for me to draw, make skinny lines with. Okay, so again, I'm doing this with paint. You can do this with chalk or with a pencil first. That's the safe way to do it. I'm going to start with this chair, the one on the right hand side first. Doesn't really matter which one I start with, but I want to bring that chair over. I want to visualize where it's going to sit. Okay, we're going to start with the backrest part of it first. I'm going to start with the far side. So right in here, I'm just going to draw a nice straight line. Okay, straight-ish line. Okay, something like that. Now, this is a rectangle, right? The chair's at an angle. So I visualize it. Where do I want that top of the other angle, or the other point on the other side, to be? I want it to be about right here. So I can mark that off. And then I can just bring this line, connect it to the top. Okay. Now this line right here, the line that I'm about to paint, should follow about the same angle as this one. It should be about at the same angle. Okay. So from right there, okay, something like that. Now here's the beauty of this. If I make this too long, and it proportionately, like here, I already see that this is probably a little too long for what I want. Later, I can always make an adjustment and bring my ground up a little higher, right? So I can bring the edge of the ground, the horizon line, I can raise that to make an adjustment. I'm not worried about that right now. Okay, I'm just making that assessment as I'm going. Okay, now I can go ahead and put in the armrest now. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put on a line, a nice skinny line for the armrest over here. So that armrest is gonna be, let's say, about right in here. And this armrest follows about the same angle, that line follows about the same angle as the top of the chair. Again, about, okay? The reason why I'm putting in the armrest now is because that's a safer way to give me enough space for the other chair. Okay? So for now, that's all we're doing. Take a moment on that. Got about 30 seconds, no rush. Oh, you're good, Anna. Anna, you are not late. Remember, if you go start the video on YouTube, you can always, on YouTube, you can back up the video to the beginning. So if you want to jump back to the beginning, just go right on over to YouTube. Okay? So just a moment, we're going to get over to I just put up my virtual tip jar scrolling at the bottom of the screen for those of you that are interested in helping support the page. Okay, I've got a Venmo, I've got a Venmo, PayPal, and a Zelle. Anyway, information is scrolling at the bottom of the screen. It's also I've also put the information in under the details, the description of the actual session. Okay, all right. Next step. So we're coming over to the other side, to the other chair now. Okay, and the other chair does not have to be at exactly the same height as this chair. As long as they're kind of close, you're going to be okay. But again, what you want to be careful with is the spacing. You want to make sure you're leaving yourself enough space for the armrest. So maybe we want to start with that armrest. Okay, we're going to start. Depends on how close you want those to be. We're going to go like this. Okay, so the armrest on the other chair. And then what do? We're going to make that rectangle. So add an angle. Okay. Now I used my hand. I placed it here on my table. I know it's a little hard to see. So my fingertips are on my table here. I take my painting hand right over the top of the wrist. I place it here like this. Stabilizes my drawing hand. Now I can it's easier. It stabilizes my hand when I do that, when I make that line. Okay. So now, other side. The top, slight angle, right? About the same angle as the armrest. Again, about. Now I'm going to come over to the other side and okay. Okay. Now, once I've got this drawn out, I'm not worried about the bottom part of the armrest just yet. I'm just going to go ahead and switch back to my number 6 flat brush or my 1/2 inch flat brush. I'm going to scoop up some black paint. Okay. I've still got some of the original mixture in here that has the water in it. May need to add a little bit more water to it. So I'm going to go ahead and dip my brush in that water cup, bring that water over. Again, this is all, whenever I dip my brush, I'm dipping it into my water cup, right? My little rinse cup. Now I'm going to take this and I'm going to do this and I'm going to go ahead and paint the inside of my chair, the backrests. Now, if you're new to the page, first time painting with me today, or you're newer to the page and you're having some fun, you like the instruction, go check out the details for my upcoming membership when you have a chance. Like I said, I posted the details on my main Painting with Jesse page right here on Facebook earlier today. The membership launched, the very first active date to the membership is going to be Monday, August 2nd. If you're interested, go check out the details and then maybe join me. This Friday, we're doing a Q&A over the membership. All right, so there we go. Painted that in. Yeah, now back to the armrest. I'm going to start, doesn't matter which one of the two I start with, but draw a little line like this, and then extends out towards the back, slightly gets wider, goes from narrow to wide. I'll show you a close-up here in a moment. Okay, kind of like this. Okay. It's slightly narrower over here than it is over here. And then from here to here, we have a nice little support piece. Now, I probably brought that a little too close to this line. I started it too close to the edge up here, so I'm just going to take my edge and bring it out a tiny bit. There we go. It looks a little better. Little tiny adjustment. Okay, same thing over here. Now this is pretty straight. I'm just going to take the bottom of it, and again, a little bit wider where it actually attaches to the backrest, and then we fill that in. Just like that. From right here, little line like that. Okay, nothing fancy, folks. Nothing too crazy or fancy. Look at that. So take about a minute on that. I'm going to go see if I've got my my flashlight, my black light flashlight. See if I may have. Returned it when I used it a couple of weeks ago. Nope, I did not, because if I had, that's where I would have found it. Okay, no big deal. You guys will just have to take my word for it that it glows in the dark. That looks amazing under black light. Not glows in the dark, but looks amazing under black light. You have to take my word for it. All right. Maybe the next session that I have, I'll have the black light with me and I'll show you guys. But you guys get the idea. You've seen these before. They're pretty cool. Hi, Brenda. How's it going? Thank you, Brenda. All right, everyone. So you have about a minute, and we're moving on to the next step. Once again, I just want to remind you, if you're running behind, if I'm going too quickly for you, don't stress about it. Everything's being recorded, and you're going to be able to find this on Painting with Jesse. Okay, so yeah, don't stress. As soon as the video is over, it gets saved right to the library. And so you can just go, let's say you're halfway done when I finish today's session, you can go over and find the painting there. Okay? But all right, guys, we're almost ready for the next step. That's right, Brenda. That's right. I know. Yeah, these are always fun. But okay. We're going to make some palm trees. We're still using the black paint, so I'm going to scoop up some more of it. I'm going to bring it over to my mix plate. Bring it right over here. Again, want to make sure you add a little bit of water to it. So dip your brush into your water cup a couple of times. Bring that water over. Blend it in really nicely into the paint. Okay. You also don't want to have water that didn't get blended in on your brush, because when you lift it to bring that paint over, sometimes that water will drip onto your painting, and that can cause some problems. But here we go with the palm trees, possibly the trickiest thing we're going to be doing for many of you. I'm using my 1/2 inch brush, but Actually, I'm going to recommend it, so I'm going to do it also. Let's switch to a smaller brush. Again, brush selection is super important. You want to make sure that you're using a brush size that is appropriate and makes your job easier. Okay, but I'm going to be using my little number 6 flat brush for the start of this palm tree. And I'm going to be we're going to start with the one on the bottom here. I'm going to start with the trunk down here. Now this trunk finishes off somewhere over here. Okay, somewhere down in here is where that trunk or the head of that palm tree is. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a little bit of black paint here, and I'm just going to find a spot as to where I think the head of my palm tree is going to be. So somewhere here in the center. I'm going to mark that spot off right about right there. Okay. Yeah, there you go. A fan brush is perfect, Ivy. Absolutely. Those work wonders. Here we go. From right there. Now I'm using the skinny part of my brush. Very important, okay? Skinny part of my brush. So the flat part like this, the skinny edge, and very small, thin line. I'm just going to come over, and I'm going to find a little area there on the side of my canvas where I want that trunk to end up, okay? This is what I'm looking for at the beginning, and then I can slowly add a little bit more thickness. So I'm going to do this a little bit for now. Still using the same skinny edge of the brush. I come across, bring that down. And of course, the trunks get a little thicker as they go down to the base, right? Where they come into the ground. So now I don't want to make this too big just yet. I want to keep it skinny. I just want to get the idea going where it's skinnier at the top and wider at the base. For now, we're done with that trunk. Okay. Later on, if I feel like it needs to be thicker, I can always add to it. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to go and switch over to my little number 2 flat brush. Okay. Same paint. You can also use a small round brush like a number 3 or a number 0 for this. Watch what I'm going to do. Here at the top of the palm tree, I'm going to make skinny lines. It's going to look like making spider legs. So like from right here, I'm just going to go. There's 1, 2. Actually, almost looks like I'm making fireworks. Okay, maybe right here's another one. Over the top. Right over here, we got one that goes like that into the purple area. To my mountain. Right over here. And then maybe one here. And why not? We're going to come over this way too. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You could have 6. You could have 8. Doesn't really matter too much. Okay. Once you've got this, you can use the same little brush. And then what you're going to do is one of these at a time. You start adding the details that are going to make these look like fronds. Okay, little palm fronds. I'm using the skinny part of my brush now. Okay, we're going to go over the top too. Now, I know some of you like really thin lines like that. If I did that all the way around, that will work. It's going to look like a palm tree. Okay? But for those of you that want some thicker ones, all you're going to do is you just work your way. Each one of these just gets a little bit thicker. There's more density in this kind of palm tree. So I'm just taking my brush here. Same thing. I'm just kind of overlap the little lines that I started with. Okay, let me give you a close-up. Okay, here's what I'm doing. Simply taking, there's a line there that I started with. I'm coming right over the top. Okay. And I can then go through and do this to all of them. So next one. Whoops, forgot the little part right here. Right here. And you can work, once you get a couple of these done, you can work pretty quickly through this. Okay, we work on both sides first. Do it to both sides. And then we can come in here, add more thickness, more density. And I'm using my pinky to stabilize my hand. I'm just placing it right up against the canvas. This is all dry, so I can do that. Now, some of you have different ways of making palm trees, different types of palm trees. If you got your way of making them, make them the way you like. Ivy said, she mentioned I like to use a fan brush to make palm trees. And yep, that is absolutely one good way. There's never just one approach in art. You can find various ways to make similar things. Different brushes. There's some brushes that are ideal for making certain things, but they don't always work for everyone. But definitely, if you've got a way to make some stuff on here, absolutely. Okay, other side, or next palm frond. So the more you work each one of these, the more it begins to look like a palm tree. So skinny lines first on one side, then you move them over to the other. Okay. And again, all I'm doing is going through and adding density. And then I overlap a little bit. I make some of them thicker. Always take a little step back and look at your painting from a distance. It's important that you do that so your tunnel vision doesn't take over. Take a little step back. Tisha. Awesome, Tisha. Good. So the membership is going to be $20 a month. Okay. Now that's basically per household, right? If you've got a family, as long as you're using the same Facebook account. At the beginning, it's all going to be through a private Facebook page. Eventually, there's going to be a website component to it, probably by the fall sometime. But the founding members launch is this July. Actually, the 18th. I hope I'm remembering my dates correctly. But the 18th through the 24th, the doors will be open to take on members. The founding members launch is when the membership will be the lowest price. And that's basically per Facebook account. You're going to need a Facebook account, right? You're already on Facebook. You'll need you'll need an email, but let's say you've got a family of 7 or whatever, family of 5. You're obviously all going to be able to jump on with the same account. So basically $20, and the founding members launch will be the lowest price. Eventually, when the doors reopen, the doors will reopen in the fall at a higher price, and then the doors will close again. They'll only open for a little bit, close again, And then sometime at the beginning of 2022, the doors will open once again for a short period. So we're going to have subsequent, there's going to be openings and reopenings throughout 2022, and same thing, each time the price will jump up a little bit. Okay, but so there we go. There's my first palm tree. I'm going to take a little step back. I'll look at it. Now here's when I'll make an assessment as to the trunk. So what about the trunk? What can I do to the trunk? Is there anything I need to do to it to make it look more like a palm tree? Is what I have right now what I want? Yeah, and it's pretty close. The only thing I want to do is I just want to add a little more paint in here because it's a little bit, a little see-through. The layer there is a little thin. And so just want to refine that. And maybe right here, I'll make that a little thicker, a little whiter. Now, on this next palm tree, whoops, let me fix something a little, fix this a little bit more. Just smoothing out my edge here a bit. There we go. One thing, I don't want to leave this area in here too bare, like the inside. I want to add a little tiny bit of density in here too, making the palm tree just look a little fuller towards the center. Maybe there's a couple of coconuts in there. Who knows? Maybe on yours you put in a couple of coconuts. But the next step is this. So up here, we're going to do another palm tree, right? Now you have to decide, does that palm tree go over the moon like on that one, like on the original? And for me, it does. No, so the price, great question, Brenda. Thank you so much. So the price on subsequent reopenings, so in the fall when the membership reopens, at the beginning of 22 when the membership reopens, again, there's going to be openings and closings. So it'll open for a few days, take on new members, and then it closes again. On those reopenings, the price will be higher every time the doors reopen up until a certain cap, and I don't know what that is yet, but at some point in 2022, we'll reach the cap for the price, and it'll stay at that for a while. But the lowest price the membership will ever be is during the founding members launch here in July. 7 days to join, and that will be at $20. Okay, but thank you, Brenda. Awesome question. Absolutely. I'm not sure what the price will be when the membership reopens in the fall, but it will be higher than $20. Okay, but all right. So what I was saying here then is that my moon is still a little bit transparent and opaque. Before I start on that other palm tree, I want to go in there and add another layer of paint. I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So taking my big 1-inch brush, actually, I got another clean one over here to the side. I want to my 1/2-inch brush, so I can speed up the process a little bit. I'm just going to take some white paint here. So to speed up the process, I didn't clean up my other brush. I just jumped to a clean 1/2-inch brush that I had over to the side. So in this case, now that I'm adding the second layer of paint, the moon becomes a lot more intense, a lot more even, a lot brighter, and a lot nicer. There we go. Just like that. Thank you, June. Are you still on the subway? No. So, Teresa, absolutely great question. Thank you so much for the question, guys. I know I'm getting caught up with the painting, so I'm giving you guys half information. So, when you join, if you join during the founding members launch or in any of the future reopenings, whatever price you come in at is the price your membership will stay at for the duration of your membership. For as long as you maintain your membership, that's the price you stay at. So if you come in during the founding members launch here in July, in next 2 weeks, on the 18th that the doors open, you come in at $20, you will stay at $20 for as long as you maintain your membership. Okay, so if the price goes up to $25 in the fall, you come in at $25, that's what your price is going to stay at. If you come in at $30, so on and so forth, that's what your price stays at until until we reach, until, for as long as you stay a member. If you decided to cancel your membership, and you will have the ability to cancel whenever you want, you have full control of that. It's not like you're obligated to stay within the membership. It's month to month. I am going to be adding a yearly option at a discount for those of you that are interested in that. But yes, the price you come in at is the price you stay at for as long as you maintain the membership. Okay. Awesome, June. There you go, Teresa. Yes, thank you again for that question. Very important. I'll be answering a lot of these questions also during the Q&A on Friday, but I'm super happy that you're asking these questions right now, because I know lots of you aren't going to hear me later on. But yeah, whatever price you come in at, that's where you'll stay. Okay? But all right. So I added another layer of paint there to my white. I'm going to I have a blow dryer right here. I'm going to take this and dry that area really quickly. So yes, a yearly option is definitely going to be a part of it, where you're going to get a discount for opting in, and coming in at the yearly option instead. Okay, I'll talk about that, Tabitha. I'll talk about that during the Q&A on Friday, give you guys more specifics. But I'm going to have a secure site where you log on, and put in your account information, etc. The price will be deducted monthly automatically from your account, unless you decided to cancel at some point. Like I said, you'll have full control of that. But I will be talking about that on Friday. I'll post some information before then also regarding how that's going to be handled, and then on Friday I'll help clarify any questions and things like that. Okay. But all right. So I just dried that white for my moon. So now we can paint around it. And just like I did earlier with the trunk, I'm going back over to my number 6 flat brush. This little skinny guy. Still got some of my wet paint from earlier, the black paint with water in it. And so same thing as I did earlier, I'm going to find the spot where I want my trunk or my palm tree to, the head of my palm tree to be, which is going to be that spot right there. And then I'm going to trail that back. Where do I want that trunk to go off the edge of my canvas? It's going to be right. I could go down in here into the water, which would be probably the best or the coolest way to do it. But I could also bring it over here. This is more aesthetic, I think, but you could also bring it over to the side. Okay. So from there, once I've got my 2 points, I can just kind of, again, I use the skinny edge of the brush to make that nice thin line. And now what I'm going to do is slowly add a little thickness to my trunk. Of course, it's thicker at the base than it is at the top. If you're getting a lot of this, I'm not sure if you can tell in the video, but down here at the bottom, this is a really thin layer of paint where it becomes really transparent. Okay, there's 2 things that are going on. Either I don't have enough paint, so by the time I get down there, that happens, and that's what's happening in my case. But if this is happening to you throughout every time that you're adding paint to the canvas, it's because you didn't mix enough water into your paint. You've got really thick paint and you didn't mix enough water. So very important is that little step. If you're seeing that in there, a lot of that in your painting, you need to add a little bit of water to your mix. Whoops. Almost tripped. Almost knocked the cable over. Or pulled on a cable and it would have knocked my my camera or my laptop over. We don't want to do either one of those. Okay, so there we go. And then what is the next step? we switch over to the little number 2 flat brush. Okay, this little guy right here. And scoop up some paint. We're going to make some palm fronds now. I always feel like I'm speaking French when I say palm fronds, because it sounds to me like Fronds. Like Hans and Fronds, is that right? Anyway, don't mind me. Kind of talking to myself. But we start with the little spider legs once again. Okay, kind of come up back over the top. Take a step back. Make an assessment. I could add another one right here. Maybe I could add another one right up over the top. It depends on how full I want my palm tree to be. I will add one right there. But yeah, so I take a little step back, look at it from a distance, and then I decide. I can always add one more later. Like, let's say, for example, once I add all the details, if there's a spot that's too bare, too empty, then I can go in there and add some more paint. Another little skinny spider leg, and then make a palm frond out of that. So here we go. So make my little skinny lines first. Okay. And then here we go. I'm going to turn this towards me a little bit. Give me a better ability to see what it is that I'm doing. And I know I'm blocking the view of what I'm doing. I'm trying not to do it. Just going through and again adding more density. But within the membership, we're going to have lots of fun, quite a bit more. If you've enjoyed painting with me on these sessions, I know there's lots and lots of people that have come over and painted with me over the past 14 months since I started doing the tutorials here on my Painting with Jesse page. If you've enjoyed the process here, there's going to be a lot of this in there in the membership, but we're going to have fundamentals trainings, technical stuff that, that are really important to improving on your painting. Things like shading, color mixing, color theory, composition, painting composition. Did I say blending already? Painting from a reference photo. Whoops, I'm taking those the wrong direction. There we go. Drawing from a reference photo. All kinds of really fun things that will improve your overall ability. Q&As, where we sit together, and these are things that are happening on a monthly basis. Q&As where we sit down and maybe over Zoom, some type of live format where I can sit there and answer your questions on the spot. But also you'd be submitting questions beforehand, and then we'd go through and talk about things, troubleshoot your issues around around art. Maybe you're struggling with certain things and you have questions about it. But also maybe we share each other, the paintings, and I assess them. You show me what it is that you're having problems with, and we kind of, help in that way. Stencils. The stencils are not going to go away. Lots of people love their stencils, even though you're learning how to draw. I know some people actually don't care about learning the drawing part of it. So stencils will always be a part of it. Everything's going to be organized within the membership. I know that on Painting with Jesse right now, sometimes people have a little bit of a hard time finding some of the stuff, like the stencils. Don't know exactly where to go. Well, all that's going to be really organized and archived so that it's nice and easy. Whenever there's a painting that has a stencil to it, you know exactly where it is. You know exactly where to go. Looking to have, this is something that will be developed a little bit later, but guest speakers in other mediums that come on and talk about their craft. Or artist entrepreneurs. I know lots of you would like to learn how to create your own little store, sell maybe make little canvases or paint on rocks or whatever it is. You'd like to learn different aspects of the entrepreneurial side of painting, of art. So looking to have that. I think the big ones to improve on your art will be, of course, the technical trainings. But tomorrow, I'll try to do it later today. I'm going to post up a mock calendar of what a monthly schedule would look like. And they're going to pretty much be mirrored each month, right? With some small variations, but so that we get into a nice groove so that everybody knows when everything's happening. I'm going to try to have things happening on the same days of the month. Like the workshops the technical trainings will be on the same days of the month. The drawing lessons and the painting lessons will be on the same days of the month. But I'll be posting up a mock-up calendar of what those look like. And as I mentioned, there is going to be a kids component to it. A little less stuff for the kids as far as like workshops and things like that. But the kids will learn a lot simply by doing the lessons. In time, I think, this is where I'm going with the membership, in time I'm likely going to have the two memberships separate. I'm going to have one for children and one for adults. If that was to happen, and you're a founding member, or wherever you come in as a member, the two memberships are still together. If they happen to split off, you would get access to both for the same price that you got the one when you first started. Okay, if that was to happen. And the only reason why I'm considering doing that is because I love doing art with kids. I love teaching, drawing and painting to children. I'd like to flesh that out a little bit more. And I think I'd better be able to do that in its own separate membership. So again, that's something that's likely to come down the road, probably not too far away, sometime in 2022 more than likely. But if you're a member, when that happens, when the membership splits, you would have access to both for the same price. Lots of other stuff, but that's the gist of it for now. Again, if you guys go look, I know I'm forgetting some things I can't do two things at once. I'm over here struggling with my palm tree because I'm talking. But if you guys want to find out details, simply go to my post from this morning, and it'll have a lot more detail there. And then again, we'll be talking about it some more on Friday. I am super excited. I am really, really excited about it. It's just a project that's been on my mind for quite some time, and it's happening. Okay. But all right, now my palm trees are a little bit different. Those on that one are a little more elongated than the original, than this one over here. And partly it's because I'm sitting here talking and somewhat distracted, but both look like palm trees. Now this one down here looks more like that one. The big difference here between this one and this one is that my fronds are longer, and we could easily make that adjustment. I can make these quite a bit longer, actually. I could just simply extend these out a little bit. We'll start with that. And then I can just come back in there and continue with what I was doing with these little lines. The other difference is that these are more dense. There's more density in here, and these are a little bit more spread out, thinner. Okay, but again, either one works just fine. There's different types of palm trees out there, so. All right. So take a little bit on that. Okay. Oh, yes, it did get bumped. Ooh, my goodness. Okay. Well, how did that happen? Oh, no. Oh, no. What the heck? Let me back this up a little bit. Everything changed here. Okay, let me see if I can change this. Sorry about that, guys. Didn't even realize that had happened. I know it's when I tripped it, when I hit my... Okay. Everything still looks a little crooked on my screen, but... Let me see if I can adjust this anymore. For some reason, it's still off. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I don't know. And it's still a little bit off. I think something with the legs on the camera might have switched, might have flipped. I don't want to mess with it too much, but so all I was doing when I was sitting there, I was a little too caught up talking and painting at the same time. But anyhow, you guys got a view of my little alien over there, my Boba Fett, my little my clutter, my little clutter over there. I got an... I don't know if you guys could probably see it, but there's an alien up there, the little alien lamp. That's my crazy shelf. Anyway, okay, so essentially what I was trying to explain, that there was a little bit of a difference between these two palm trees. These are a little more extended out, a little further, longer. There's more separation in between the lines here. They created it, whereas in here there's more density. They're a lot tighter on this one, a lot more together. But either one will work. There's different ways to make palm trees, right? And again, I mentioned that earlier. So whatever, if you have a way of making them that you like, use that. Otherwise, use the method that I just detailed. So we're pretty much towards the tail end of everything. What I would like to do right now is I would like to take some of the green. I mentioned earlier that I was going to mix some of the blue neon color, this guy right here, and some of the yellow, and create some green. I'm out of my green neon color, so right in there. I added some of the blue neon. Now I'm going to take some yellow. Now I don't need that much blue because it's going to be primarily the yellow. And this is really thick too. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a nice light neon green that I'm going to add down in here. I'm going to mix it down in here. Okay, so I'm going to use, we're back to my 1/2-inch flat brush. Clean that up a little bit. Okay, and so it's mostly going to be this yellow, this really nice bright yellow. I'm going to grab a little bit of the blue. I'm going to mix those two together, and it's going to create a nice lime green. If I wanted it to be darker, I would add more blue to it. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, once I've got the color that I want, I'm going to take this and I'm going to come in here and just start adding some of this in here. Again, I flatten the brush against my plate, making that point nice and skinny, or the edge nice and skinny. Adding this nice neon green over the top of all this. It's already dry. Now you can take, once your painting's dry, you can take more of the neon color and apply it over anything, right? If you want to have more blue in there, more green, more yellow, more pink, more purple, you just take that and you add it wherever on your painting, and that area is going to stand out quite a bit more. Even if you don't have your painting under black light, the neon colors have a fluorescent quality to them that you'll notice even under regular light. Okay. So then I want to do that with the blue. I'm going to clean my brush up a little. Now I'm going to take my neon blue, same thing. I'm just going to scoop that up. And I can come in here and streak it in. Okay. If I wanted to, I could take some of this blue and apply it to the sky a little bit. I'm not going to do that because then I have to be working my way around the stars, or I'd have to cover the stars and add some more stars later. But that is an option. You could also take some of the pink and do the same thing right in here to the pink areas, avoiding your trunk, right? You could paint right over it and then come back and redo the trunk. But that's not what we're going to do right now. Then the very last thing that I do want to do besides the glitter is I'm going to take some white. And let me actually switch to a smaller brush. So my number 2 flat brush right here. No, my number 6. I'm going to grab some white. Okay. Flatten the brush against the plate. I'm going to come up in here and just start adding some white reflections into, whoops, painted right over the top of that. It's okay. Easily fixed. Just going to add a few of these white reflections in the water, mostly here in the center. If you were to take a line and come straight down the middle of your moon, that's what you would where you would apply these lines. So again, if you came straight down from your moon like this, that's the area where you would be making your streaks. And you can use thick paint or thin paint to make these. In other words, you can make them where there's some depth to them, make them a little thicker. What time do we got? 5:30. So we've been going at it for 2.5 hours. All right, we are almost done here. So you would take this white and apply it, again, wherever you feel like underneath your moon. Again, kind of come straight down. Add these little streaks in here. There we go. Okay. And then the very last thing that you would do, if you have any and you would like to do this next step, you would take some green. Now on the original, let me give you guys a close-up. On the without knocking stuff over, on the original, I have quite a bit of glitter. Okay, you guys see that glitter on there? Okay, that's what we're going to apply right now. For those of you that have some glitter paint, you're going to take some of that and apply it to the top of your palm trees. Now, again, I've got this neon green. It's a folk art brand from Glitterific. I'm just going to take my brush and I scoop it right out of the bottle. I could place it on a plate first, but we're not going to do that right now. I'm just going to take this. The way you do this, if you're new to using this glitter, you want to make sure you're using a clean brush, and then you only want to apply it to the areas that are already dry. So if you want to apply glitter to an area, you want to make sure that it's dry before you start applying it. What happens is the glitter and the paint will mix, and that'll dull your glitter quite a bit. So you don't want to do that. Okay, now I'm going to take some more here, and I can go down here across the trunk. This is a really cool effect. Anything that you want to stand out on a painting, you could add some glitter paint, and all it really is glitter floating around in glue. You add some glitter paint, and that really makes a huge difference. Check that out. Okay, I'm going to try to catch the light with it. Okay, and then of course we do the same thing to the other palm tree. I'll start with the trunk here first. Okay, now the actual fronds themselves, I'm going to cover those up. And you notice how I'm doing this. I'm taking my brush and I'm just dabbing. I'm dabbing and dabbing. Right over the top. And pretty much, ta-da. All right, let me see here. And you could layer glitter too. You could layer glitter paint. You could always go back and once this is all dry, you can add another layer of glitter to the top of it, and then making it all really stand out even more. Okay, so always take a step back. Look at your painting from a distance. Okay, make sure that everything looks good the way you want it. Okay, but all right. So the very last thing that I would do, let me see if I can fix the angle on this. It's just really bugging me. Okay. Without knocking things over, Jesse. Yeah, it's as good as it's going to get today, I think. Anyway, the very last thing that I would do is take my painting. I would sign it first, sign down at the bottom somewhere, one of the corners. Then I would flip it over and I would do the bottom edge in black. right? Just to take that paint and wrap it around underneath. Okay. And then I dry it, let it dry for a few hours. It's acrylic paint, so it dries very quickly. I know some people like to, some people have asked me about protecting paintings. How do you go about protecting a painting? And you want to varnish it. You want to use varnish. You can always, there's spray varnish, there's varnish that you actually brush on. You could use either of those to protect a painting. Okay. I'll be doing a tutorial on that. I'll be talking about that within the membership. But anyway, spray varnish or paint varnish. You can or brush on varnish that you can purchase at any art store. Hobby Lobby, Michael's has those. But what those varnishes do, they protect your painting from dust, dirt. They protect from the sun, from light. Light, especially sunlight, over time will discolor a painting, whether it's oil or acrylic. And so what these varnishes do, they put a protective layer over the top, and they protect your painting from the elements. Now, in time, years from now, hopefully, you'd have to strip the paint off of or the varnish off and add another layer over the top of that. Okay, but that's how you would go about protecting a painting. But all right, everyone, I want to thank you guys for hanging out. Let me see. Tabitha says, my palm trees don't look like palm trees. Have to practice them. Absolutely. Thank you, Brenda. Yeah, I know. That must have been fun. I was over here caught up in my own little world. But yes, fun times with the lives. Anyway, that's pretty much it, folks. Please do not forget to go check out the membership information. Also, and I didn't ask this earlier. I totally forgot. Got caught up. Today's been it's been a crazy month. But I'd like to have you guys send me pictures of your paintings. If you could send me pictures of your paintings via Messenger, the stuff that you did today here with me, send it to me via Messenger here on Facebook or through email at paintingwithjesse@gmail.com. I like to gather those together and then eventually make a big post where I share your paintings and other people can come out and check those out. Okay, it's a lot of fun for everybody to go through there and see the kind of work that everybody does. So if you guys could do that, that would be amazing. But okay, everyone, thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed the session as much as I did. I will see you guys all very soon, and I'll be posting about the membership over the next, actually today and tomorrow, I'll be posting up some stuff, and then I will see you guys on Friday. Thank you all. Appreciate you being here with me, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.